Hello, everyone. I'm Colleen van der Zijden, and this is Creating an Inspired Life. And I'm so happy you're here today watching and listening as usual. It's always great to see and hear from you. I'm a medium. I'm a spiritual life coach and a bit of a psychic as well. I do all sorts of things to help people. And my passion has always been, for years now actually, to help people live their best lives, to help them live the life that they're meant to live, the life that they actually deserve. And I do that as a medium and a coach. I like to help people figure out their action steps, figure out what they're going to do to move forward in their lives, and help them become empowered. It's really an awesome job, if you ask me, because I do spend most of my time doing this, and it's wonderful. And here on this show, what I like to do is give a coaching tip every week and then take a couple callers where I can give advice, psychic, mediumship, coaching, whatever the need happens to be. We'll just step right into that. And today's coaching tip is on selfish versus self-care. Have you ever had the experience where someone told you you were selfish because you didn't want to do something? Or maybe you wanted to do something and you were selfish. Maybe you didn't go to that obligatory family function because you knew it would drain your energy, because some of the people there just aren't very nice and you didn't want to go, and someone called you selfish. Just the other day, I heard about a lady who was exercising and her husband called her selfish for exercising. Can you believe this? I know, it's craziness. It's absolute craziness. And when people say you're selfish, what that means is your needs are not as important as theirs. Or maybe you're doing something that they think is taking up your time away from them. And so when they call you selfish, it means they just don't like what you're doing. Women never want to be acknowledged or called selfish, particularly. I don't know how men feel, but I just have a lot of experience talking to women. But women don't want to be called selfish. And as time develops, as we were growing up, so many of us were taught from a young age that if we base our decisions, our actions on what we want, that we're being selfish. And we develop this belief along the way that other people's needs are more important than our own. And we're not supposed to focus on our needs. We're supposed to set them aside and take care of everyone else. And I know some of you out there are going, oh, you know what I'm talking about. You just know what's going on right now. And that's what it is, because women feel like we have to take care of everyone and everything. And the problem with this is sometimes we believe ourselves that we are selfish, but we're not. And there's actually a difference between selfish and self-care. Selfish, as we know, is very self-absorbed. We're totally about ourselves. We don't take anybody else's needs into consideration. We base our actions solely on what we want without any consideration for ramifications or any of those things. We don't care. It's not based in love, that kind of feeling. You know, it's not a positive energy. Self-care, on the other hand, is based on a positive energy. It's the energy of taking care of ourselves. And we have to take care of ourselves in all ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the whole way. We need to pay attention to ourselves. And self-care involves recognizing what we need to be happy, to have a fulfilled life. It's about honoring ourselves, honoring our needs, respecting ourselves. And sometimes we'll actually recognize that if we take care of ourselves, we're more equipped to handle other people's needs. And I'm sure you've all heard the comparison to the airlines. So you're on a flight and they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first. If it comes down, put it on first before you do the people around you. In other words, your children. Because if you don't put that mask on first, you could pass out, and then your children aren't going to get their oxygen masks, and they're going to have a problem as well. So you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of the others. And it's the same exact principle. Everybody agrees with this, and we can recognize the ramifications with the airline thing, but sometimes we don't think our own needs here in the physical now are as important. If someone calls us selfish, or we call ourselves selfish for that matter, it's a trigger for guilt. We start to feel guilty. We're not doing enough for the other people. We feel guilty because we're making decisions based on our needs, not other people's. We struggle to figure out how to take care of everyone else and how to take care of ourselves. It's a real issue how that goes. But lately, I've been meeting a lot of women who are shifting that perception from selfishness to self-care. And it's a big shift when we start doing this, start recognizing that we are important in our own right, and that the people around us or situations around us are not more important than we are in our needs. When we do this and take care of ourselves, we're healthier. It's amazing. We have more self-love for ourselves. And we start to realize when we take care of ourselves, we're actually more able to help people around us. We have more energy to give. When we do things for other people out of a sense of obligation, responsibility, whether it's imposed by others or ourselves, we actually use up all our energy. We use our energy up on other people rather than ourselves. And we move ourselves down our list to the bottom of the list. Later on, after I get all of these things done, then I'm going to take care of myself. Later on, after I finish the laundry, the cleaning, the shopping, taking care of the dogs and the cats, all this, then I'm going to sit down and relax. After I finish that last load of laundry, then I'm going to sit down. And how many times does later never come? We just don't get to it. By the time we finish all these other things we think we should do, there is no time left, and it's just go to bed time. These women, so many of them that I've talked to, it's really interesting how people will come and they'll all have similar issues. Many of them have made this tough decision to actually end a relationship because they realized it wasn't honoring themselves anymore, and it wasn't helping them take care of themselves. They had put their partner's needs ahead of their own. They had lost track of who they are. They tolerated abuse, possibly. They tolerated thoughtless comments. They tolerated somebody who doesn't pay attention to them. They didn't do things they wanted to do because their partners didn't want them to do it, so they just didn't do it. And, you know, we think it's going to change, but it doesn't. So these people, they had suppressed their needs, and they had suppressed the ability to take care of themselves. And invariably, it's like they all woke up. All of these women I've been talking to, they woke up. They realized they're not happy, and they had to do what they had to do to make themselves happy. They had to make this choice. They could see things weren't going to change, so they had to do something. At that moment, self-care became more important than anything. Their quality of life had to be acknowledged through the use of self-care. And by caring for ourselves, our quality of life does get better. Interestingly, though, even though they all stepped into this energy, every single one of them, questioned if they were being selfish by taking care of themselves, by taking care of the relationship and ending it, by moving forward with their lives. They questioned if it was selfish to disrupt other people's lives because they had a need to be happy. They were guilty because they were causing pain to other people. Never mind their own pain. See, a perfect example of putting other people's needs ahead of our own. A perfect example of that. And they felt guilty on all of this. And I said to almost every one of them that self-care is probably the only time where we really are thinking clearly, where we're paying attention to ourselves. If we're not feeling right and we're taking action to fix it, we're demonstrating that self-care. And that's the only way it's going to work. We have to take care of ourselves. We're responsible for ourselves. And it's not selfish to do that. It absolutely is not selfish. And that's a belief system we have to let go of if we've grown up with that feeling. And how many times in a relationship have you denied, or I denied, or anybody denied what's going on and putting up with things that are unacceptable because we feel if we take care of it, we're being selfish, we're concerned, all these things. All these things put other people's priorities ahead of our own. That lady I mentioned earlier about the husband calling her selfish for exercising. Still, I can't get over that one, let me tell you, because that just seems so obvious to me. And if she were to stop exercising because of his disapproval, that would be a bad thing because she's not showing herself self-care, but she has no intention of stopping. She's quite clear on that. She knows it's important for her, so she's willing to stand in her power for that. And she could definitely see that he was just, I don't know, wacky or something, and it wasn't selfish. So practicing self-care is so important because it makes you feel empowered. It validates your feelings. It validates what you need to be happy. It helps you know your boundaries, what's acceptable, what's not, what you'll put up with, what you won't. It helps you act on that information. We don't blame other people for how we're feeling. We take responsibility for our own feelings. And in taking care of ourselves, demonstrating that self-care, it's easier for us to keep our own energy and build it up again so we can help other people, as women so much like to do. And I'm sure there's men out there who do that too, but it's a vast majority of women, especially the ones I've talked to. I've already said that. Self-care is not selfish. Absolutely not selfish. So if you ever think that taking care of yourself is selfish, remember this. It's not. Do whatever you have to do to acknowledge yourself so you can move forward, so you can create that life you want. Take the action you need to take. And that is my coaching tip of the day. Always one of my favorites. All of them are. But this is a really big one because it seems that that's something really affecting so many people these days. You can reach me at psychicmediumcolleen.com, as well as on Facebook, Medium Coach Colleen Vander Zyden. And if you want to give me some stories, I would love to hear them. And we are going to move on to our first caller, who is Jenny from Indiana. Jenny, how are you today?
I'm good.
Excellent. Good. Do you have something in particular that you would like me to talk about?
I'm having a hard time with my family life right now, mainly my marriage and my home life with my child. It's been quite rough and not too good.
Yeah. Are you still with your husband?
I am.
And, okay, and I'm definitely picking up, obviously there's some issues, but I'm definitely picking up on a lot of frustration on your part. You know what I'm feeling? I'm not feeling like you're getting any support. Are you not getting any support?
None.
I mean, that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel right at all. And is your child in the teen years?
Well, he just turned 5. I think he thinks he's older.
Okay. That might explain this because let me tell you what I'm feeling. I'm getting the feeling of a rebellious teen. Okay, the one who tries to control everything, doesn't listen, doesn't follow directions, believes they're right. I get a little bit of a mouth on the person. There a little mouth on this one?
Oh yes. Yes.
There seems to be
he witnesses a lot of not good stuff at home, so he picks up on everything.
Yeah, it's you know, I get a feeling of such I don't know what the word is I want. I guess confusion with him because I'm feeling he's not feeling secure, not feeling because you know kids really pick up on energies, and if you're having some issues with your husband, then your son is picking up on that as well, and you probably know this. And when that happens, they'll act out to get as much attention as they can, and which can make everything even worse. I mean, your whole situation, it will just feel even more dramatic. I do feel you discussing things with your husband, and I have to say, I'm feeling like you're the one that's doing the primary caregiving for your son. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah.
And it seems like you're the one that's trying to fix everything, but I don't feel you're getting any backup on that either. It's almost as though, how am I going to put this? It's almost like your husband doesn't have any sense of discipline, and I mean that in terms of himself.
Yeah. It's kind of a dangerous situation at home, I guess. But he's the spoiler of the two of us.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Why is it I don't feel having any discipline? It's almost as though he just does whatever he wants without really thinking about what's going to happen, or sometimes making choices that aren't the best. Does he do those kinds of things?
All day, every day. Yeah, my son has like two sets of parenting. One when Dad's home because he's a truck driver and not home much, and then me, which is the no, you can't. But he sides more with the because he's going to do what Dad lets him do, and be controlling that way too.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, because it's such a feeling of inconsistencies and all of that happening around you. And I feel as though your complaints to your husband are on deaf ears. It's like he doesn't hear you at all. Does he not realize that stability is important because it doesn't feel like he does at all. It seems like he just wants to have fun, you know, and just wants to have a good time. And I also feel him kind of negating the things you say to your son, like, I know he's not backing you up, but it's almost as though you say, no, you know, it's time to go to bed. And he goes, oh, no, he can stay up later. You know, I get a lot of that. Oh, okay. Well, here, we've got quite the situation at our hands, don't we? And I understand you have spoken to him and you've tried to get through to him, and it's just not getting through to him. And I also get the impression, I don't know if this has come up, that there is a feeling of him, he wouldn't consider going to counseling with you, would he?
No.
Yeah, I would like him to, but yeah, and so would you, I'm sure. But he won't consider that. It's really interesting because I do feel you putting your foot down. So, you know, the impression now I'm getting is that you have to be as blunt as possible. And you're going to have to be the person that says to him, look, this is the way it has to be, or we're going to have worse problems later. And you're going to have to come up with some kind of a consequence for your husband in order to get through to him.
But I don't think that's an option.
Yeah, because he won't listen to you, will he? Have you actually truly? I'm getting the feeling that he's that you've considered ending the relationship over some of these issues.
Yeah, probably more so him. Actually.
That he's thought of it more than you? Okay, because I'm feeling yours of thinking of it too. And, you know, I'm not much of one for telling people what to do. You know, I'm not going to tell you go divorce them or anything like that. But I get such a strong impression that you really need to think long and hard as to whether or not this is how you want to live, how you want to raise your child. Now, of course, if you were to separate, then you've got other issues to deal with. You know, inconsistency still will be there in parenting. But there is that consideration of really looking long and hard at that. If he won't go to counseling with you, I would recommend you go to counseling and try to find someone who can talk to you. And if you can't afford it, there are ways around that, because there are, you know, like community groups and things like that, ministers and everything that can help, just to give you an outside objective opinions on things. And there may also be a parenting group around, because I do feel one around you right now. So if there's a parenting group where you can talk to people and just say, you know, I don't know what to do about this. The only thing I caution you about talking to too many people, because if you talk to too many people, your head will start to spin and you won't know which direction to follow. But the primary goal is to take care of yourself and to take care of your son. Because if your son doesn't have discipline now, I can tell you when he's 16, by my own experience, you won't have any discipline then either. So, you know, it won't get better.
I was once a teen like that.
Yes. So those are my suggestions for you today. I do feel that you are going to make a decision. Where are we? We're in October. I do feel you're going to make a decision on this and within the next 2-3 months at most, because it feels to me that you have to make a decision. You can't continue on like this. Okay, so you are going to make a decision. And just know, though, whatever decision you make, you're making it for the best choice. You're making it to take care of yourself. You're making it to take care of your son. And that is the priority, to take care of your son and raise him the best you can. And in so doing that, you're also taking care of yourself. And that is so very important. Okay? So those are my suggestions for you tonight.
Thank you.
So you are welcome. Good luck with everything. I'll be sending you a lot of positive thoughts so you can work through this in a positive way.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's nice talking to you, Jenny. And that was Jenny from Indiana. Life can be so interesting at times, can't it? Now we're going to move on from Chrissy to Chrissy in England. Chrissy, how are you?
Hello, good evening.
Hello, you got a little bit of feedback going there. How are you tonight, or today for you? Maybe, I don't know. Are we at nighttime or daytime? We must be at nighttime for you.
It's at 2:00 in the morning.
Oh, my goodness me. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I hope you're having a good morning.
I've been waiting to hear for you. Thank you.
Oh, good. So what can I help you with tonight? Today.
Well, I was looking to try and connect with somebody who's passed over.
Okay. And who are you looking for? Because I'll just try to find them right away rather than searching.
His name is Tony.
And was he a good friend of yours? I feel a good friend coming in.
We were together for 40 years.
40
he
years.
passed away 2 years ago.
Okay. And you probably know how he passes, because I'm feeling all sorts of stuff happening in my body. Did he pass suddenly as well? I feel sudden all of a sudden.
Yes.
Okay. And it feels sudden. Did he have a heart attack before he passes?
No. I don't think so.
Okay, because I'm feeling all sorts of stuff. I've got stuff happening in the chest. I've got stuff happening in my stomach. I feel organs shutting down, that kind of thing as well. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's happening with that. He feels, now if this is him, and we'll find out more in a second as I keep talking to him, because as he steps in, I have to say there's a couple of things that come through. I get a lot of dignity with him, a lot of propriety when he's with certain people. In the business aspect and socially, did he have a lot of dignity about him?
Yes, definitely. Very much so.
Okay, because I feel so much of this, and I want to actually stand up straighter, be taller, not slouch as I so frequently do, and I want to make sure I'm doing things appropriately. I want to make sure I'm using appropriate words, and actually I'm feeling a good vocabulary with him as well. Did he have a good vocabulary?
Well, he couldn't speak the last sort of 5 or 6 years of his life, but he did. Yes, he did. He was well spoken.
Okay, so before all that stuff that was happening with him, because there is also, man, there's so much going on in his body. Woo. But he's showing me how well spoken he was. He gives me the impression that he really enjoys the turn of the word and to make sure we're using it just correctly the way it's supposed to be. He should lend me some of his vocabulary because it's amazing. And he also gives me quite a lovely sense of humor as well. Someone who has a lot of charisma and can pick up on things. Was he quite charismatic?
Yes.
And did he have a nice humor as well?
Oh, very much so. Very unique. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good word. Unique. That's a good word. And because it's a feeling of taking pretty much anything and making it into a joke and things like that. And with that also comes a very positive attitude as well. And he gives me the impression, even though his body had whatever going on with him, so many things going on with him, I feel that sense of him making the best of the situation. Do you know if he did that?
Oh, definitely. But I was wondering if you could pick up on any specifics
Yes.
at all.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see what they'll do, because what I like to do is just kind of touch in with them, see what they feel like, how they come through, and then just let them take over. So they kind of take over. So it's always fun to see where we end up with things, let me tell you. He is showing me papers, okay? I've got quite a few papers in front of me right now. And I'm getting the impression some of these papers have been left behind. Would you happen to have some of his papers?
Yes.
And I'm feeling some special papers within those papers. And by that, I mean personal comments and statements on there. Do you have personal things like that, along the lines of a card or a letter? Okay, because
we were together for 40 years, so definitely.
And so he definitely wrote these things to you. Yes. Yeah, a lot of people here in the United States don't do that kind of stuff anymore. It's very interesting. But I see these papers there. And he does direct me towards a certain paper, and it looks to me to be something in particular around the I love yous, and it looks like a Valentine's kind of card, that kind of thing, because I'm seeing hearts and things on this, and I'm seeing a personal note written inside of the card, and there's the impression too of a mention. I don't know if it's on this card or another card or something, but there's the feeling too of having specifically written something to tell you how much he loves you. Okay? And it seems to be reminiscent of the times we had way back when we first got together, and how he really knew how important you were to him. And he tells me that you were always somebody who was there for him and who always knew exactly what was going on in his head. There's the feeling of you supporting him in many ways. Did you support him through emotional things? Did you support him through this illness as well?
Oh, everything, yes.
Everything, because he mentions the support and how important it was. He also tells me that you didn't really share with him some of your fears as it got closer to his passing. You didn't really share those fears. You didn't share because you didn't want to weigh more things on him, put them on him, so to speak. You kind of kept some of those things private. But he's telling me also, though, that you did tell him how much he meant to you before he passes. And he gives me the impression you did that close to his passing. Did you do that?
Not actually at his passing, but I did. We did constantly exchange how much we meant, but not actually at his passing.
Okay, but quite close to it. Because there is the feeling of the acknowledgement of no unfinished business, that we said what we needed to say. We experienced what we needed to experience. And he tells me how important that was for him to experience this, to know that there is no unfinished business, to know he did the best he could. And he wants me to tell you that he appreciates everything you did for him, like throughout so much time, and how important it was for him to have had you in his life and helping him. Okay, he's saying that you were one of the most important people in his life. And he's actually mentioning, it's a phrase similar to, I love you to the moon and back, but it's not that. It's something similar to that I'm hearing. And so there is an acknowledgement of how much there is. Chrissy, I'm so sorry. I've lost track of my time, and apparently I am being given my warning time here. So. Okay. I will just leave you with so much of the love that he has for you and the gratitude and the appreciation for everything you did. And thank you so much for waiting up so I could talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You are most welcome. You are welcome. And I'm Colleen Van Der Zijden, and this was Creating an Inspired Life. And life can be so interesting. We can have problems and we can have losses, but it's always good. Remember this week to take care of yourself. You can find me at psychicmediumcolleen.com or on Facebook, Medium Coach Colleen Van Der Zijden. And you have a great week, and I will talk to you next week. Goodbye.